I reckon I can make it work, yeah. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. Everything's a risk in life. You take risks. I love taking risks. It's like anything I do. It's all a risk. There's no guarantee, but it's a calculated one that I'm willing to take. I'm doing this exhibition because basically I was invited by Ken and Pam Duncan to do an exhibition at the gallery. I think photography's got to the point in Australia in particular, not so much in America and Europe and other countries, but in Australia it's become a bit of a social media platform, and I think that's a bit sad. I think photography was always created to print. Not a lot of photographers are printing anymore. There's magazines have died, the image usage market has died, and even exhibitions in Australia are not a huge thing anymore. So to get an opportunity to get in front of an audience like theirs is quite an honour. The joy for me is always seeing a finished print. It was no different to shooting film for years and waiting until that film got back and putting it on a light box and seeing the result. The print to me is the same as film was years ago. When you're naming an exhibition, you really got to think about the market that you're targeting. If I was doing an exhibition in Sydney in an art precinct, I would probably brand and name it very differently to the way I'm doing it at Ken Duncan's gallery. They're two different markets, so understanding your market is key to how you name it and brand it. I actually years ago liked just having alone, and it ties back in with that wonder theme as well. I don't know.
Well, I guess when you're thinking about the consumer and the person that's going to be purchasing images, it's all about creating that emotion and what emotion your images bring to someone.
Yeah. What about Muse? Can you type up I'm not sure how it'd work with the demographic up there, but...
To reflect, to be absorbed in thought, to ponder, dream, wonder, loiter, waste time. Literally to stand with one's nose in the air.
I do that. I do waste time and stand with my nose in the air.
Maybe put a question mark on that one. I don't think it works.
What about the other part of, like, it's dark and light is, light and dark is photography. It's tones. What's another word for shade?
Light and shadow.
Light and shadow. Maybe
Flip it.
Shadow and light. I actually don't mind that.
I like it.
So in the end we came up with the name Shadow and Light. The reason we went for that name as opposed to some of the others were like Muse, Solitude, Alone, Wander was Nearly Wander. And that was all based in and around, the final decision was the market that we're aiming at. And we thought that name, Shadow and Light, would have more meaning and appeal to the demographic that we're targeting. So that's why the decision was made. So this is Tekapo. I was in an argument with two other photographers I was with because they were down at this other place called Lake Ohau, which is about 45 minutes from here, and they thought what they were shooting was so beautiful. It was the first time I'd been to New Zealand, and I really wanted to get there because I'd seen this church on the lake, so I got in a big argument with them, and I was like, I have to get to this particular place, and I was a bit aggressive about it. So we got there, and it was the first afternoon, and it's really rare. If anyone's ever been there now, this was back in 2012 or 10 or something, but it's really rare to see Tekapo, that church, without 1,000 people. Well, usually there's tour buses and people walking all through the grounds, so we were lucky to get no one there. And it is one of the most beautiful places you would ever want to go. You cannot get that shot anymore because those trees on the right fell over and they make that shot. Picking prints is really, really important. Obviously, it's the most important part outside of the branding. This one is different. It's at Ken's gallery, so I have to, I've already been up and spoken to the staff there with a massive select of images. They're the sales staff, they understand what sells and what doesn't to their market. So on this occasion, I've had to sort of go through that process to narrow the select. My next step is to print A3 proofs of every single image I'm thinking of exhibiting. And I will then put them on a wall and sit with them for a while, have discussions and invite people in. But the big market that most people don't think about, and photographers being a very male-dominated industry, is they don't think about the buyer. Most of the time the buyer in this market is going to be female. And what we like as photographers is very different to what sells in a commercial sense. So including a female in that process for me is key, because that females see and feel different obviously to men. So we've got to include that element and understand that the colours and tones and things that men like, women may not. If women as the end purchaser, we need to have their opinions as paramount. So I can win some and lose some, but most of the time the ones I really fight for, I lose.
Yes.
Can I put spots on my ones?
No.
How many spots do I get?
Spots later.
That's so cool.
How many spots do I
No,
get?
you don't get spots.
Do I get 5 or do I get a whole sheet?
No spots for you.
All right, let's talk about all the ones that we don't like.
Let's talk about the ones we do like first.
This one's James's favourite.
That's the
James's
one that-
favourite.
Yep.
That's mine too.
I think they've got a very mixed reaction in the gallery.
Yeah, that didn't go
That's
good.
not out there too.
We won that one and we had to give it back.
No, you won Lion Island.
No,
I
but
love
we were
that
going to
one.
swap it and you
Yeah.
said that'd be fine.
Yeah, that one's gotta go. It's gotta be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only just found that the other day, but that is better.
I prefer the colour tones.
That's got all
Yeah.
birds in it.
Yeah,
That's
and I like
beautiful.
the gold of the tree. Is kind of nice.
I like
birds.
I like the sun on the mountains
It's
and the
gorgeous, but it's so much. It's just such a different mood.
This one we know from previous experiences.
Yeah, that's
Definite.
absolute.
See, they're the ones that I think
And-
that's going to strike a chord more than bled would.
Well, those two, remember
No,
those
got to
two,
have bled in. Bled's too
those
much.
two next to each other.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
So I think that has to.
But I really think if you're going to have that
Go.
one in, you really need that as a point of reference, just as like a body of work situation.
I mean, the caves.
I hate that shot, but so many people love it, and I know
You
it.
two are very offensive
I
people.
hate that.
I love you, but I hate that. You know that,
Oh, yeah,
and that
we're gonna-
I don't think that should go in. I
We're
don't
doing
think
that
the
one.
lightning over the lagoon's
Yeah.
anything
I said the
of a
exact same
masterpiece.
thing.
I think it's an amazing thing that you caught it, but
Lucky you don't take offence easily,
No.
Glenn.
I got rid of that years ago.
it's not a terrible photo, but it doesn't represent you at all. It doesn't
don't
look
think
like
it's
your
terrible.
work.
It just is a postcard. Anyone can do that. That's why.
I couldn't do that.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
but-
you've got extra space, throw it in.
This has to be in because it's going to be in.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Title?
The
I
get,
think
but-
this has to be in.
I
Unfortunately.
reckon that's a definite.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially if you're going to do that evoker
Yeah.
one over there, I think you've got to have a bit more.
I'm just thinking about the audience, a good shot of Terrigal.
That sells really well. But is most of the demographic coming from the Central Coast? Have you figured out who visits the gallery the
They'll
most?
be everywhere. Sydney,
Is that Terrigal?
Evoker.
Evoker.
And out of the Northern Lights,
Yeah, this one,
that one's
for sure.
a better shot, I think.
Oh,
Well, you've got more of the lights in
Yeah.
that, and
yeah.
the reflections are stronger.
There's actually a face in there too, like a,
Yeah.
see that? The two
eye.
eyes and a...
Nose and a mouth.
Oh, well, we've narrowed it down at least. We've got a select there, but it's a matter of anyone's going to buy anything, I guess.
I think that's pretty good. That's a solid selection.
This is an age-old tradition in Sri Lanka. It's not done anymore. But what they used to do, they go out and sit on here, and a lot of people think they've got a hook and bait and they throw it in and they catch fish. Well, they don't do that. The reason they're out there is because they wait for schools of fish. They have multiple hooks on and they throw the line in, they jag fish. When I first started taking the pictures here, the waves were breaking and there was all sand and it looked a bit naff. And I wanted to show the movement of the fishermen. So I put a filter on and did about a 3 or 4 second exposure deliberately to smooth all the water out and to show the movement of the fishermen. And that was just before all hell broke loose. So that storm, doesn't look much of a storm, pushed straight across and we got absolutely pelted. Like I'm talking the biggest downpour. Only went for 10 minutes, but we got drenched and then it was beautiful after that. Exhibitions are like, in a sense, a small little business that we're creating, and that little business to me is all about the brand, the feel, the look and the marketing. So it's a tiny business that we're creating. We've got the luxury of using a really great gallery, so the location's primo, but getting the brand right and the name is key. I love the shadow and light with the picture with the hut in Norway. I don't know if we got it there.
I mean, you could always do something that's like an ocean scene. I think
Yeah.
you could brand that, but then I don't really
Well, there's
know if
lots of space to brand, but it's not shadow and light. That's it's just.
There's not shadow in it. It's more just about that bright, happy kind of feel to it.
That one.
That one.
Yeah, I reckon that's like that to me says shadow and light.
I think it's a striking image that would work really well for
I
branding.
think it'd brand well on street signs, also all the other collateral ads in magazines and stuff. But should we have a look at the pictures just out on the wall and see if there's something that pops?
I think that's probably a better way to go about it. Right.
So really we're looking at, see that, I mean we're looking at it as a huge big print too, but that one and that one.
I think those two have really good contrast of light and shadow, which will work really well with branding.
So maybe we mock something up
Yep.
on this one.
Well, we'll get a logo together, and what I might do is I might impose the logo over both, and we'll send them both as mock-ups and get some feedback.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah, yep. And I don't see anything else that's really going to work in terms of a hero. I mean, those two
really
sort of
these-
stand out.
Really, these two stand out.
Creating the brand and the way I do it, I'm a bit luckier than a lot of people. I have a marketing person work directly with me that I employ. So James will, we work together, we sit, we figure out themes, looks, feels, fonts, images that we can use that work. And in all honesty, in this particular exhibition, because it's at Ken Duncan's gallery, we have to be very conscious of their market, and so I've actually had their input on how that may work. So we send drafts up, we get feedback, and we actually take that on board. Normally speaking, I may not, but for this one, I have to. They've been in business, 35, 40 years. I think they know what they're doing, so I have to listen to that. I have to take it on board, and if changes need to be made, we make them.
Do you want to come and have a look at this, Glenn?
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
So if
I like how you've done the
yeah.
and there behind too. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
not what I thought.
So the idea is that so you still get, you're not really impeding on the landscape, but it also ties it in with the image.
Yep.
You still get those lovely colours through, cyans and the peaches.
Yeah, perfect.
I think that works a lot better than, although I really love this image and the impact of the image is great, I don't think you get that same.
Yeah, and I do sort of see from the street having a really dark presence as opposed to a bright one might work a little bit better on the branding side of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't you send them up to the gallery and get some feedback, see what they think. Just send both options.
Yep, no worries.
With this exhibition, there are a few considerations that we needed to take into account. One of them being the name itself. Secondly, where we're exhibiting, which is Ken Duncan's gallery, and considering the audience that's there, as well as looking at Glenn's images themselves and tying that all in together.
Hello. Hey, how you going? Yep. Okay. So not the Norway one with the hut? You don't? Okay. Yeah, no worries. I'll tell James. We'll get the Tekapo shot sort of laid out. He's got all the file formats to send, doesn't he? Yeah. Okay. Easy. No worries. Thank you. Cheers. I'll tell him now. Bye. Hey, Jimmo. They're going to go with actually that one, the Tekapo one.
Okay, cool. I think it'll work. I think it looks good.
Yeah, I'm happy with that one anyway.
All right, cool. No worries.
Cool.
I think it's important to brand an exhibition the same way that it's important to brand a business. You set an expectation for the consumer. So really what level you're working on in terms of your work and how long you've been in the industry, the brand needs to speak to that. If you're new, you might want something fresh and modern. If you're someone that's been around a little while, you might want something a little bit more traditional so that consumers know what to expect before they're there.
So this would have to be probably one of the best days of photography I've ever had. So it's the first time I'd been to Slovenia. We flew into Ljubljana to the airport and we went straight to Bled. This church, it's on an island in the middle of the lake. The only way to get to the church is through a mafia that organises the boat hire. They are the wealthiest people in Bled. It's like €30 return. They go all day long, full boats. There was literally no wind and just snow constantly falling. Because there's no wind, the snow sticks to everything. So I was just walking along and I just came to this little opening where I saw the branches coming down and it sort of led out to the church, so I just framed it up. I called it Frozen because that reminded me of the movies Frozen and that really cold sort of look. The branches.
Thanks, Glenn.
Welcome, James. I think one of the most important parts of doing an exhibition or any exhibition is how you place the images. So you can't just come in and put pictures randomly anywhere. There has to be some kind of flow. So we've tried to do some black and whites together, some colds together, rainforesty type pictures, and those warmer tones, so that when people walk through, it's a little bit of a journey as much as it is looking at the pictures. So we want to take them on that journey, not just have pictures hung because, of any other reason. So they've got to really work together on colours, tones, and a feel that I'm after.
That's your hero.
So, yeah.
So let's start with
we've got-
Tekapo. So where do you want your main image to go?
I think as you come through there. So I think it's got to be prime position. I think that you have to put your hero shot, which I have one hero shot for instance, in the best possible location. So that means the spot that people will see most. And then from there we sort of work backwards in and around that particular one. I think that those two, because black and white, I was thinking here.
Vertical there.
And that there.
Landscape there.
So yeah, black and whites, two black and whites, and then what were you thinking?
Well, I was saying, like, if you're gonna have a really nice sunset through there, it'd be nice to have muted images if you got black
So
and whites
shoot
here, so
through.
maybe colds on the facing walls
Those
there.
two there.
Yeah.
So I was thinking 50 inches each.
Yep.
No mats. Then the spaces sort of look there.
Yeah, they'll work.
So if we did that,
And that way the impact as you're coming into the gallery should go straight through to Tekapo, because that's going to be your biggest image as well,
yeah.
in a lovely big Bellini frame. And then you'll have your best-selling sort of colder images in black and white.
And the other one, so when you first walk in here, on that wall, there's two prints that I have placed together before that actually,
Work well.
yeah, they go really well. So that one and that one.
Okay.
So I was thinking as an entry, the colours are the same. They're both actually in the same location, so they're both Central Coast. Avoca. Yeah, so that's the cave, and then this shot was taken sort of just here.
Okay. So out the front.
Yeah, I think just here. Like that. So when you first walk in, big bold colour.
Yeah. I think that works well with the room out here as well.
Yeah.
They should tie in with everything else.
So we've got to remember too that the actual street frontage, so as people are driving past at night, and the ones that they may, you know, walk up on the balcony here, veranda, and have a look at. So
Yeah.
I was thinking something along the lines of striking colour, so maybe a Northern Lights shot, because I can't get anything in here to work with Northern Lights.
Yeah. I think they need to be pretty striking, because as you're driving past, you know, it's 60, 70 Ks along the road, so they need to sort of capture you straight away. But I think the challenge is with that is that they might be tough to sell if they're on the outside. So
Yeah, that worries me, but we can shift stuff around too. If stuff moves, we can just
okay.
shift it. But the other shot maybe that would work out there, I don't know what you think, is the one we've used on the front of the little magazine. I think it's
Ocean Treasures.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
maybe in the middle. It's local. Maybe that will.
Well, yeah. If they've seen it in cafes and doctor surgeries and stuff like that, it's probably going to be good for that whole like overall brand as well.
Yeah. Yeah, righto.
Yep. Ocean Treasures. Cool.
My 60 by 40s without a mat, just with the spaces, are about the same size as this. And I reckon as we come in, these two look really good big.
So contemplation on this wall.
Yeah. And
60 by 40, no spaces.
Spaces and no mat.
Spaces, no mat.
Yeah, so they'll end up nearly the same size as that. And I think those two there, they'll be really, really dominant.
Same size and everything.
Yep, they're exactly the same. The black and whites, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do them, well, the spaces, but I'm going to use a raw timber because I think it looks really good with the black and white. So we're going to do raw timber with the spaces. That size...
60 or a 50?
No, I'm going to do a 60.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it with spaces. So the actual shot will end up being this sort of size.
Okay.
Because there's no mat, and it's a bigger print. That's a 50-inch print. And here I'm going to do a 50 with spaces and raw timber. And obviously vertical. And that will create the impact.
Okay, cool.
I think we've got everything size-wise, so
Yeah.
that's, yeah. And I think we've got 30 in total. So now we've got sizes. I've just got to finish the colour, make sure the colours are right, the proofing. I think we're ready to put in the order for the 30. At least we know now how we're going to have them presented and how they'll look anyway.
Okay, cool.
So this is Kamchatka. So those of you who don't know Kamchatka and where this is called Lake Kershli. And this isn't a place that very few people ever get to. So to get to Kamchatka, it's a peninsula that sits off Russia. It sits in the Bering Sea. So you've got Kamchatka and then Alaska, America. And where this particular lake is, so we fly into Vladivostok, which is on the mainland of Russia, which is an old submarine. They built submarines there for the Russian Navy. You fly across the water into Petropavlovsky, which is the capital of Kamchatka. We usually stay there a night, and then we jump on a Russian Mi-8 troop carrier, which is a helicopter that needs 2 engineers and a pilot to fly it, so it's very old. And we all sit in that and we fly 3 hours over volcanoes, through valleys, into the interior of Kamchatka to this particular lake called Lake Kerchlai. So these bears are called the Cohiba bears. They're the biggest bears in the world, bigger than grizzlies. They're there to eat and be part of the biggest salmon run in the world. And this shot was taken from the other side of viewing platform, round behind other bears. And I just saw this guy just standing there, literally just waiting for a fish to pass, and then they just pounce and eat it. So, but it is a freaky place to go. Hey mate, got the first lot of proofs done. So they're straight off screen, but I've got to go through and have a look if the colour's right or what. But yeah, first lot done.
Sweet.
It's extremely important. The most important part of, I think, in doing an exhibition is actually getting your prints right. This looks pretty different, mainly because we're dealing with 2 different mediums. That's what a lot of people forget. So we've got a backlit screen versus a printed material. So in order to get them right, you've got to ensure that you proof your work. If you don't proof your work, you are left with sometimes poor quality images. And if the images suck, you're not going to sell any. So a lot of people miss this step. They trust their screens, they go straight into print, and you don't get to see any of the differences between what you want and what you actually get. So it's one of the steps that I actually really spend a lot of time on, hell of a lot of time. This one, it's printed a little dull down here, I think, so we need to give it a bit of a kick. Yeah, I think the highlights are all a bit flat. It needs a bit more contrast all over, and this rock down here needs obviously a bit of brightening too, but it's not a bad first proof. I think we need to have a look at them under a light box as well. This is not ideal light to be looking. It's just a simple comparison at the minute. I'll make some notes on these, and I usually send a document through to the lab and request the changes on the files that I need done. And then we'll see the second round. Hopefully most of them will be ready to print after this. I think we're pretty close on a lot of them. So we're just back at the lab at the moment. These light boxes are so important when you're looking at pictures. They give you proper colour under true lighting, which is really, really important. It lets the print sort of sing. And I think it's really important. Had I just gone off what I thought, these would look crap. So my first test here, this was what I'd seen on screen. Actually, I thought it looked all right. But now when I see it as the proof printed, it's really yellow, and the whites, it's actually yellow all over. The difference being with this one, it's totally neutral. The blue is blue, not yellow. And all those mountains are actually really white. So thank goodness that I got help with that one. A lot of photographers, they get in this position where they're total control freaks, but this part of the job I like to hand over to someone who absolutely knows what they're doing, knows colour, and can get the best out of prints. Like those two are chalk and cheese. Yeah, they're all so much better. All ready to print. I guess now it's time to put in a fairly large print order. This is Lafontant as well, right? So this is where we stay in these little huts, and I'm on one of those big bridges that arc over. It's a very popular place called Hamnui. The biggest export in Lafontant is cod, and particularly cod liver oil. So I've got footage of me walking through those. I don't do smells at all, so yeah, it's rank. But this is just trying to capture that sort of Arctic Norwegian look, if you like.
I called this Winter Wonderland. Hello.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Just ready to start having a look at some of these prints.
Okay.
See how we're going to frame them. I know you've seen a couple, but I wanted to see if you had any ideas.
All right. Well, this one I pulled out first because we have a couple of special frames over here that I thought would probably work well with this print.
Oh, wow.
So this could be probably one of your hero prints, I was thinking, with our Bellini Ranger framing.
Well, that's come up all right, eh? And what frame were you thinking?
So I was thinking this particular one here. I pulled that off our rack system and had a look at it against this. And I think the colour tones go really well with this particular job. I know you were wanting to keep them a bit simple.
Yeah, but if we got a couple of bits that are, you know, are you thinking maybe 3? Well, how many got there? 3. So if we did 3 frames that were a bit
absolutely
different, and yeah, all the rest I'm thinking pretty simple.
Yep. And these can be a bit of your wow feature prints.
Yeah. So this one here.
This particular frame.
So that'll look.
So we just keep the matting simple. We just pop a white mat on it.
Yep.
And then this would be the frame that we would put on your job.
Yeah, cool. It's just pretty flashy, something a bit different.
Yeah, and the image being warm goes with the colour tones of the frame being warm as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon that looks nice.
So you're happy with that one?
Yep.
Okay. So do you want to keep this one quite simple?
Yeah, I think the rest of them, bar those 3, I think we do all the others. I'll see what you got to say.
I just think it's such a busy print. If you probably left it simple framing of it, it'll just enhance the actual work itself. So,
and what were you thinking? Like?
So I'll show you out the front here what we've got.
Yep.
There's a few options. Okay. So this is mostly our range here.
Yeah.
So I was thinking sort of contemporary. There's a couple of options you could have in whatever colour tone that you were thinking.
I'm thinking just simple. Like
Simple?
Even just, I'm happy to do everything white.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't know what you were.
No, I was thinking along the white lines. I just wasn't sure if you wanted to go the timber look. You can use basically a standard style frame, not quite that width. That width on huge prints, a little bit smaller. It comes in a few different sizes.
Yep.
And then you would put a white rag mat with it as well. The other option we have is, which is quite popular at the moment, is a box frame. Not that one, it's this one here.
Yep.
And we would use a spacer. So your acrylic sits under there and we pop the spacer in like so, and then your job would sit under that.
Yeah, nice.
So your work sits back from it. Example is this one here that we have.
Oh, okay. Oh, that'll look really good on
Okay.
those bigger prints too, I think.
Yeah, and it's quite simple, so it doesn't take away from the image.
No, no. Yeah, I reckon that's a good thing.
Okay, we'll go with that one.
Yeah.
Right, great. Excellent, I'll take this in.
Have a look.
Yep. Okay, we'll go ahead and start
Yeah.
framing these up.
And so the exhibition launches on the 16th of August.
Yep.
How long before, or
Well, you can pick it up a couple of days before if you wanted to.
2 days before? Yeah, there is a chance if they're all ready, I might come here with a van and take them all straight up.
No problem.
But
Absolutely.
on that morning of the 16th,
Yep.
we'll just see.
We'll have them ready definitely by the 14th, so you can come
Great.
and collect them all then.
It's very exciting.
Okay, it'll look fabulous, I'm sure.
Cool. All right, thank you.
No problem.
My budget for this exhibition is around about the $30,000 mark. That takes into consideration the marketing, the catering, and all of the printing and framing. So that's basically what the rough figure we're working with. There's two ways to look at stuff when you're doing an exhibition. I've had galleries of my own, and if we worked off running costs, what it costs to run the gallery, buy the products, keep it, you lose essentially about 40 to 50% of those sales through running a gallery, staffing it, marketing. So most other galleries, external galleries, galleries in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, they will take a commission structure, generally speaking anywhere from 30 to 50%. We're working off a 40% commission structure, which for me is no different than having my own gallery. So I'm more than happy to work with that. It gives us a set fee. We know exactly where we are. I know exactly how many products I need to move to break even. It's actually a really fair way to do it. So we're saying 30 prints. I honestly think, based on what we already know about what they sell up there, 50-inch panos sell really, really well.
Yeah.
It's a solid size. So I'm thinking we spread the work out. I'm just working off rough numbers, but if we said we did, say, what do we got? Say, of the panos, say we did 6 50-inch panos, we're looking at about 600-700, so we're looking at 4,200. Mm-hmm. And then if I said we sort of did 40-inch frames, just standard full frame shots, if we said sort of they're 700 as well, so if we said we did 10 of those, that's about $7,000. What did I say? 5 of those. Buy 5 of those, and we'll say we roughly do, say, 10 of these, and I reckon we do at least one big standard size, like the 160/40s. But let's say 2, because
they're going to have better impact, aren't they?
Yeah. So if we say 2 times 2 of those, so as it stands, we've only got 15, 16, 18 shots so far. Yeah. So I mean, you're looking at around the 25,000 mark for printing and framing. Then if you look at marketing, potentially, we know we've got fixed marketing costs up there, which are about the $3,500 mark. They're fixed costs we can't change. I think the catering on the night, I think we're looking at about $1,000 for that. So we're up at 29,000 already, 29,900, without doing any of our own marketing.
I mean, you're going to need to have budget aside for Facebook ads.
So I'm just going to put social, and I think, in all honesty, we're going to have to be throwing, I reckon, at least a couple of grand at that.
Yeah, I'd think so.
Is that? Yeah,
I think so. You could probably squeeze it, but really,
I think if we said LinkedIn and Facebook, Insta, across those 3 platforms, using our existing database, I think we could allocate that. So we're gone, a bit over. We're nearly at 32. If you're doing an exhibition, you've got to be really, really careful. Like, you've got to actually put every single cost in, and you've got to be willing to take a hit. Exhibitions aren't always money makers, but what I will say is they're very, very good marketing tools. So even if I didn't break even on this exhibition, I have just basically invested a heap of marketing money into broadening my market. So I think, sometimes as photographers, we don't look at all of the outcomes. The exhibition, success might be measured on money, but it can also be measured on the amount of people you get your work in front of. They may not be buyers today, but in 4 years or 5 years or 10 years, or their parents or their grandparents or their grandchildren, whatever it might be, they're all potential clients. And I think not measuring things on sales sometimes can be very, very important. And it stops you from feeling defeated at times, because I think what we've got to all aim at is actually getting to the stage where you just have the gonads to actually exhibit your work and have a crack at it. So this was back in well before aerial was a thing. So the way I do them with a helicopter is we go up to 2,000 feet. I have a harness on, I have 2 cameras, and we get the chopper tilted on its side, and we do spiral turns from 2,000 feet down to 1,000 feet. And that's a Voca, and people always bang on about the same umbrellas, and they told me that I copied and pasted all the umbrellas in, but what happens every year, people go to the shops and buy the same umbrellas. So this would depict the Above the Coast series that was all done to show people the Central Coast in a different perspective. So it was all about aligning people's expectations with actually where they lived.
Well, I'm doing a mix, so I'm looking both at traditional media, so looking at flyers, newspapers, print work, and then I'll tie that in with digital media as well, so more modern marketing around social media, EDMs, databases, stuff like that. So this is the sort of stuff that we've done, just a couple of flyers that we'll put out into the into cafes and businesses, local businesses, as well as insert into the local little guide and a bit of an article as well on Glen and what the exhibition's about on the back page there. So that goes out through businesses as well. So that's more of your traditional marketing. Tried, true, tested, works. These in cafes, I went and got a whole heap of extra, and I just drive around. I get a coffee, like I buy a coffee and I just go to the barista. Can I just drop some of these out on the table? Quite often you'll find in lots of cafes there's like waiting areas. You just get a stack of them, throw them on the waiting area while people are waiting for their coffee. They'll pick it up, have a bit of a look. They might throw it in their pocket, stuff like that. You just got to think outside the box, I think.
How are you, mate? Get you on that one, and I'll get Ben on that one.
And he's out.
The Ashes, streaming live on the ABC Listen app.
Where there is light, there must be shadow. Where there is shadow, there must be light. So Japanese author Haruki Murakami wrote. Look at any landscape and you'll see this play of light and dark, even at night. And it's the name and subject of a new photographic exhibition coming up at the Ken Duncan Gallery. Glenn McKimmin is a local landscape photographer and has packed his camera and taken it around the world to get these stunning images. And Ken, who's pretty good at this himself, this is the new guard, I think, Ken? Not that you're old.
Exactly, yeah. Amazing.
Tell us about Glenn.
Well, I'm so proud of this exhibition because, Glenn was an assistant to me for many years, and this exhibition's just knocking it out of the park. So fantastic shots locally and all around the world.
And Glenn, this camera of yours has taken you literally all around the world. Tell us about some of the amazing places you've been able to snap.
Well, thanks to this guy, actually. He got me started. I've been to like Kamchatka Peninsula off Russia, Slovenia, Norway, Bhutan, India. Yeah, lots and lots of places.
Hardest place to get into, Kamchatka?
Yes, by far.
It's very well known for salmon fishing, for trout and salmon.
Yeah, so it's the biggest. Where we go there's a lake. We fly internally in a chopper. And that's where the big bears live, and there's the biggest salmon spawn in the world, which is the sockeye salmon, which we photograph the bears eating them. But yeah, it's amazing.
Some of those old army issue Russian choppers are
that's
a little bit decrepit.
Yeah, the Mi-8, we fly in that 3 hours into the interior.
Wow, yeah. Amazing. And how's it all come out? I mean, obviously people can see the results on the walls at the Ken Duncan Gallery
so
up there at
Erina. It starts this Saturday coming, and it'll run for a week and a bit. So, it's nerve-wracking because you never know what people are going to like. But, it's been a long process to get it right. But hopefully we've got the right selection anyway.
How did you scout it? Why these places?
I run a tours company as well, so I take people on photographic tours, so quite often it works in tandem with that as well.
And Glenn's photos are on exhibition at Ken Duncan Gallery, as we heard, from Friday through until the 25th. What do you see in Glenn's photos? What does it do for you? I mean, you always talk about learning from other people's art and appreciating it.
Well, everyone has a different eye, and Glenn has an amazing ability to capture that little moment out of the big picture. And often I just am amazed. I think, man, that's amazing how you saw that little section and captured it. And so he really conveys the place to you, so you feel like you're there. So these pictures, some of them are big. So it's like you're going to go on a world tour without having to leave the beautiful Central Coast.
And there are Central Coast images there too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's quite a few, couple of ones from. There's one in particular, a cave in Avoca that I tried to get for about a month straight during king tides, but it's interesting story. But there's quite a few from the coast.
You've got to suffer for your art, haven't you? Good luck, Glenn McKimmin. Ken is like a proud dad with you, and exactly. It's up on the walls for people to see. It opens up this Friday at the Ken Duncan Gallery, Erina Heights. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, Scott.
Good luck with the show.
That one in face.
So we finally got everything on the wall. It's been a massive process, actually bigger than I thought, and I have got a new respect for Ken and Pam again. It's a massive process actually, but a few things went wrong. We got it all up by 6 o'clock last night, and it was a good process to go through. Different than I thought. We had things laid out where we thought they went, but when you get frames on the wall and things, it tends to change a little bit. So I feel like we've got a really good aesthetic now. I hope people come tonight and enjoy it, and over the weekend. And yeah, all the hard work's done now. Just got to relax and enjoy it.
Thank you, firstly, everyone, for coming. Like, it means so much to us both, all of us, for you to give up your time to come here. But look, I'm so proud to put on this exhibition. Glenn is family. I've known him for a long time, and he's my assistant. He's without doubt one of the best assistants I ever had. And we had some very fun times. And for me, I get more pride actually in seeing fellow photographers' work than my own, because it's a lot easier, because they've had to do all the sunrises and sunsets to get all the shots. And so I can just say, hey, come and do an exhibition here, and get to see all their pretty pictures and buy some. And so I'd like to introduce you to Glenn, and congratulations on a stunning exhibition.
Thank you. I won't be too long, I won't make it too painful. First thing, Laurie and Wendy. My very first solo exhibition, would you believe, was at Lotus Cafe in 2012. Years and years and years ago, I was a little kid, probably Xavier's age, my son's 8. They turned up at our pub at Kew, and they had this car called Sherman the Tank, and it was a Toyota. They'd sold everything they owned, and at that point in my life I didn't really know what that meant, but they sold everything they owned to follow this dream. And now it makes sense, and it did probably 5 or 10 years ago, made a lot more sense. But they literally sold everything they had in this world, and they focused their lives on this. And they have paved the way for photographic galleries, photographers, and the selling of limited edition prints in this country. And not only as their nephew, but as a photographer, I think we all owe them a debt of gratitude, and I'll be forever grateful. Thank you. And lastly is someone that can't be here, and for Xavier, my son. Shuri, my sister. In 2010, she passed away, and I'll get it together. And I just I wish she was here because she helped me at the very start of this journey. So, yeah, she died. 3 days later, I was pregnant with. I wasn't, but we were. Thank you, that helped. We were yeah, we were pregnant with Xavier. So that door closed and one opened, and yeah, it's been a hell of a journey. But I wish she was here, if no one else. But thank you all for coming, and I appreciate your support over the years, all of you. Thank you.
It's everything I expected it would be. The variety is astonishing. There's not a type here. It's Glenn's style rather than it's not street stuff. It's not landscape. It's not portraits, of course, but it's Glenn's style. I've talked photography with him for a long time. I know how keen he is. Now I see how good he is. It's a lovely range. I think from this to his surf stuff is indicative of the range and the animals and etc. So I think that's. I'd like to say I'm surprised. I'm not surprised because I knew he was good. He's beautiful. It's a beautiful series of photographs, and it's full credit.
The presentation, the framing, it's just beautiful. And it's good to see Glenn's work being exhibited in such a stunning way in a great gallery. I think my favourite image would have to be Slovenia. It's just exquisite. It's just a beautiful image, and to be able to capture it like Glenn has is extraordinary.
It's always a real honour when someone's willing to walk into a gallery and feel connected to a photograph I've taken through the story or just through the image itself, and they walk away and put that on their wall at home. It's a huge honour for me.